Why countries are calling Trump to renegotiate tariffs? Let's find out. 1. Avoid economic damage from high tariffs. Countries are reaching out because Trump's sweeping tariffs, starting at 10% universally and reaching up to 50% for some nations, threaten significant economic harm. For example, Taiwan faces a 32% tariff, which could shrink its GDP by 3.8% due to its heavy reliance on exports to the U.S., prompting urgent calls for negotiation to soften the blow. 2. Prevent retaliatory trade wars. Nations fear a cycle of tit-for-tat tariffs that could escalate into a full-blown trade war. China has already responded with 34% tariffs on U.S. imports, and the EU has promised countermeasures. Countries like South Korea and Thailand are contacting Trump to negotiate exemptions or reductions, hoping to de-escalate tensions and avoid broader retaliation. 3. Maintain access to the U.S. market. The U.S. is a critical market for many economies. Canada and Mexico alone send over 70% of their exports there. With tariffs raising costs, countries are eager to renegotiate to preserve their trade privileges, as losing this access could devastate industries like Mexico's auto sector. 4. Risk of global recession. The tariff-induced market plunge on April 7th signals a shaky global economy. If negotiations fail and tariffs persist, experts like J.P. Morgan warn of a slowdown, as trade flows shrink, prices rise, and investment stalls, potentially pushing global GDP growth below 2%. 5. Shift toward regional trade blocs. Failed negotiations could fragment the global economy into isolated blocs. If the U.S. becomes a tariff island, as some analysts suggest, countries might deepen ties elsewhere, for example, Southeast Asia with China or the EU with itself, reducing reliance on the U.S. and altering decades of trade patterns. 6. Inflation and supply chain strain. Even with successful talks, partial tariffs could still raise costs for consumers and disrupt supply chains. For instance, U.S. households might face $329 more annually from Chinese tariffs alone, per the Tax Foundation, while industries like construction, which are reliant on Canadian lumber, could see prolonged shortages, fueling inflation in an already uncertain economic climate. What is your opinion about tariffs? Comment below and subscribe for more.